Alrighty guys, welcome back to another one. Now this here is a shell I have been wanting to get my hands on and do a breakdown video as well as range videos on for a very long time. Now every time I've seen these locally, I've been a little bit too poor to pick them up. However, a couple days ago, me and my wife are out in the next town over from us, Ashland, Kentucky, and we stopped by Dunham's, which is actually in Russell, I think. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They had these back in stock, and, well, I wasn't quite so poor. So, I grabbed a box of them. These are not cheap. It is Federal Premium, but the specs on it. 10 gauge, 3.5 inch, 1100 FPS, 18 pellets of double-aught buck. Now, it says double-aught, but Federal, their copper-plated double-aught buck is actually 31.5 cal from, last time we measured them. I wouldn't imagine they'd have two different copper-plated double-aught buck sizes that they use, but 31.5 cal, that's single-aught buck. There are two sizes of single-aught. That would be 31 and 32 cal. There are two sizes of double-aught as well. That would be 32 cal once again and 33 cal, which is true double-aught buck. 32 cal is true single-aught buck. But they're not even using 32 cal, it's 31.5. It may not sound like much to you guys, but to some people that's a big deal. 31.5 or even 32 cal fits a lot better in most wads than 33 cal does. Obviously, they're both a little bit smaller. Anyway, I'm willing to bet this has the 31.5 cal in it, just like the flight control buckshot that we did, 12 gauge obviously. But the hull itself looks really good. Nice brown hull. Federal 10 gauge is always brown, except for the new Remington 10 gauge ammunition, which is green. I think I have some. Let me find a hull real quick. I couldn't find them, but here are Remington 16 gauge hulls. This one is a legit Remington. This one is a Federal, and this one's a Federal. You can see the, hopefully anyway, kind of hard to see. Fiber base wad in there, and look at the hull itself, the plastic, everything is the same, brass sight's the same, except one says Remington and one says Federal. Now, this hull right here, there you go, obvious plastic base wad. Maybe I can pick it up in here, that it is fiber. There, now you can see it. And the brass height, much taller on the legit Remington right here, and it's shorter. Same with the new Remington 10 gauge ammo. It is actually just rebranded Federal. This has a brass plated steel head on it, as evidenced by this magnetic screwdriver. Get off there. Has a Federal primer of some kind. I don't think this is a 209A. It could be. But I've never seen a copper washed 209A. This could be a Federal 239 primer, which are also a mag, I believe. Anyway, just a overall good looking shell. All it says on it is Federal double-aught buck, 3.5 inch, 89 millimeter. That's it. As you can see, these are made in the USA as opposed to assembled in the USA. There is a difference there. Back of it is just warnings. No one really cares about that. We have our specs here and our specs here. Buckshot sizing chart. Interestingly enough, they actually skip single-aught. The 32 cal, yeah, they just straight up skip it. And the top of the box is just more warnings. Alright, well, with all that out of the way, let's actually open this up and see how they put it together. I'm willing to bet this is done with just a plastic gas seal and maybe a felt or a fiber wad in there. Their slug is done with a plastic gas seal, 10 gauge slug, and a really hard felt wad, and that's probably what's in here too. And these are buffered. Alright, I've got it opened up here. The pellets and buffer are in this 3.5 inch 12 gauge shell here, but I managed to stack them by two somehow, and you can see that them pellets are not looking so hot. They are oxidized. It's not really flaking off the copper plating. No, that's oxidized pellets. Copper, whenever it oxidizes for the third time, turns green. And that's what's going on here. So on Federal's website, they advertise this as being a 2 1/4 ounce payload, yet this is only 2.08. This is probably 31.5 cal, just like I guessed. And if that's the case, this is not even a full 2 ounce payload. This is like 1.9, it's between 1.9 and 2 anyway. So nowhere even close to 33 cal and nowhere even close to that 2 1/4 ounces. And that 2.08 is including the buffer. That buffer is probably taking up, oh, I don't know, a 0.15 of an ounce, I would assume. That has a lot of buffer in it. I don't know if you guys can really tell, but from about right here in this shell all the way up to here, that's buffer, and a lot of it. Anyway, here's what the pellets look like by themselves without all that buffer. You can see once again, focus, they are a little oxidized. Not as bad as I thought it was. I was worried that, you know, every pellet in here would be badly tarnished. No, it's maybe half of them, and it's just a little bit of tarnishing. Not too bad at all. But still, this is a new box of shells. I really wouldn't expect that out of a new box of shells, but here we are. Just the pellets by themselves are 1.95 ounces, so again, not quite even 2 ounces, and it's claimed to be right off their website 2 1/4. Nope, that's about 3/10 of an ounce away from 2 1/4. And just to show that better, here are 18 pellets of true 33 cal double-aught buck, and that is 2.215, which is very, very close to 2 1/4. And these were only 1.95. I forgot what it was for a second. But yeah, that is a true double-aught versus undersized single-aught. The buffer weight, surprisingly, this is actually over 1/8 of an ounce at 0.132. 1 1/8 is 0.125. Not much more, but we basically have an entire 1/8 ounce of our payload in this in just buffer. And for a charge in this one, 33.8, might as well call it 44. And it is more of that large black flake powder with yellow, there it is, little yellow dots in it. Looks kind of like this stuff back here. Focus. Except yellow dots. Now it says 34. Cool. A little better view of it. I know the camera's kind of shaky, but there it is. Above that, we have a plastic gas seal, 1/4 inch thick. It's actually probably a 1/16 in the middle, but overall height is a 1/4 inch, and it is completely symmetrical. Don't drop it in the floor. You can see this side of it is exactly the same as that side. No difference. Very similar to the X10X gas seal, except for this is concave on both sides instead of flat. And above that, we have a 3/4 inch really dense heavy-duty felt wad. The exact same wad that is in their 10-gauge slug. But yeah, this stuff is really hard. It is nothing at all like, let me grab one out of here. This stuff down here. Here we go. This is a 1/4 inch 20-gauge felt wad. You can see this stuff is very, very malleable. It's soft, really good at absorbing shock or setback upon firing. Now, this is rock hard. This has almost no give to it, and I don't imagine it provides much in the way of cushion, but it works. For the 20-gauge guys out there watching this, here is the size difference between 20-gauge and 10-gauge. Yep, that is quite a bit bigger. Now, as for the hull itself, 3.5 inches. Actually, this is 0.345. The only 10-gauge hull that is full 3.5 inches is the Remington, the olive green one specifically. It's actually 3.52. It's actually over 3.5 inch, but still, it's 3.5 inch. Winchester 10-gauge hulls, fiber base wad obviously here, and you can see that's not a 209A. I don't think it has a yellow sealant, not pink. The 209As are pink anyway. Winchester 3.5 inch 10-gauge hulls are they're 3.3 inches. Shadot 10-gauge hulls are 3.38, so 3 3/8. It's just weird that they aren't all 3.5. But that's all the components in this, guys. I'm going to slap this back together with this guy right here. 10 gauge Reassembling. This is my Lee Loadall that I converted to do 10 gauge, bolt-on, depriming punch, all that stuff. So yeah, I'll put this back together, see if I can make it look presentable, and I'll get back with you in one moment. Actually, before crimping this, I found something interesting. There is so much buffer in this hull that it takes up all of the excess room. It's not just used as buffer, it's used as filler too. You can see them top 2 pellets right there. There is still like, I don't know, half an inch until you get to the crimp line. It's kind of hard to show. But these also stack weird. They stack by 4s for a total of 16, 4 layers of 4. And then you have 2 pellets on top. I tried to make these stack by 3s, and it just was not happening no matter what I did. So, yeah, these stack by 4s, and there's 2 on top left over. They could have just put 2 more pellets in. That would have gotten a lot closer to the 2¼ ounce payload and not use so much dang buffer, and just made this a 20 pellet assembly. That word, the L word there, is still a little iffy. Alright, here it is put back together, and it looks beautiful. Really even, very nice crimp on that. We do have a little bit of a taper on it, even without using a BN2, because, well, the shell out of the box has a really, really heavy taper on there. And the Reassembling right here actually cut the plastic. You can see it right there around the rim. Yeah, they have this crimp in there so tight and so rolled over that the Reassembling actually cut the plastic. That's a first. Never seen that before. Let me hit this with the BN2 and see if I can get it looking like that. Although, to be honest, I prefer this kind of crimp. It makes reassembling them a lot easier because you don't have to deal with a completely roasted and pinholed crimp like this. When you have a crimp this tight, whenever they open up after you shoot them, it tends to wear the hulls out quick. Whereas ones like this, much better for hull life. Alright, I hit it with a BN2. Mine is on the right here. It's still Federal, but I crimped this one. Now it's even tighter and deeper than the one out of the box. I didn't mean to do that, but you can see it does have a heck of a taper on it now. There it is compared to the Federal. You can see it's about twice as long. Whoops. May have overdone that one just a little bit, but again, I don't really like making my shells look like that. Again, it shortens hull life. I think it shortened the hull too. It did. Yep, it shortened the hull by probably 1 millimeter or so. Whoopsie. That's okay. They're calling this double aught buck, but actually they're not even using single aught. This is 31.5. Single aught's 32. I guess it don't really matter. If you guys have seen anyone pattern these on YouTube, Kentucky Ballistics done it a few times. These actually pattern really dang well. They're even capable of making several hits out to 100 yards through just a plain fixed full choke. You put a turkey choke in it, you're probably going to have a really devastating pattern inside 50 yards. And yes, we are doing range videos on this. We are going to test a shell out of a given choke and a given gun. And then, in a different video, we'll switch guns. Well, we'll switch chokes. We might switch guns. And see what it does through a different choke. Again, possibly a different gun too. But yeah, we're going to turn this into 5 different range videos. That should be a lot of fun. We might start doing that with a few shells going forward. Especially the really expensive ones like this. But anyway, there's been a breakdown on Federal 10 gauge 18 pellet copper plated double aught buck. Hope you enjoyed it. Pretty excited to do the range videos on them. Should be a lot of fun. And other than that, you guys take it easy. We'll see you in the next one.